Welcome to Leading Ladies of Rio Rancho, brought to you by the Rio Rancho Observer. During this series, we will invite business and community leaders from Rio Rancho and its surrounding communities in Sandoval County for conversations on what they do, why they do it, and the issues they face. I'm your host, Tracy Goldeisen, editor of the Rio Rancho Observer. Welcome. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today we have Clemy Garza with us, and if you don't know her, she is the owner of the McDonald's in Rio Rancho, as well as some other communities. So I just want to take a moment and say thank you for coming in and chatting with us, and welcome.
Well, it's an incredible honor to be here with you today as a leading lady.
Yeah. So can you just take a minute or two and introduce yourself and your background a little bit?
Sure. So my father, Julian Garza, opened Rio Rancho's first McDonald's restaurant almost 40 years ago. Now we operate 8 in Rio Rancho, Albuquerque, Bernalillo, Pewaukee, and Espanola.
Oh, wow. And so is that then how you got involved in becoming a franchise owner, is because you followed in your dad's footsteps, or?
Sort of. I actually started working for McDonald's at 43 years ago as a college student, working part-time. I was actually one of the closers, closing the restaurant and doing the dishes.
Oh, wow.
My original intention was to become a trauma surgeon and make a difference. I continued working for McDonald's through my master's and as a single parent and a mother of a disabled child. After McDonald's was used as the global standard in all of my master's classes, I said, wait a minute, that is the career for me. I went back, in earnest to become an owner-operator and never looked back.
Oh, wow. Amazing. But you're not just an owner of the restaurant in the community. You're also very active in community service and giving back. One of the big things that you're known for is hosting the annual Thanksgiving dinner. So how did that come about, and why is that important to you?
I'm immensely proud of the history and legacy my father started over 37 years ago when he partnered with St. Felix Pantry and the community leaders to provide these annual free Thanksgiving day dinners for anyone who showed up to the restaurants. In the most recent years, it was over almost $1,200 meals in a day, in that day. Mm-hmm. My dad has always been a strong community advocate, an avid community supporter. He's also been a change agent behind the scenes, and he's been especially passionate about education. Now, my grandmother, his mother, used to always tell him, investments made in education are never wasted. And I think that constant teaching is why many of my relatives are educators and why my dad and I are both so passionate about education as one of the causes we support.
Yeah, and we met a couple of weeks ago and we kind of talked about some of that. You talked about some of the partnerships you have with the school district here, as well as some initiatives that McDonald's has that you, in fact, your organization was a leader in, I believe.
100% correct. So let me give you a little bit about the background. What you're talking about is our Archways to Opportunities programs that McDonald's offers nationally to any eligible employee who works 15 hours a week for 90 days. With that educational program, it actually offers multiple benefits. My employees can learn English. They can learn to speak Spanish. They can actually take an online accredited high school and get their high school diploma paired with a career certification in one of 9 career paths. But then they can also leverage that and get tuition assistance for going to any Department of Education approved program that allows them to work towards their degree or their trade certification. The program, since its beginning, McDonald's has actually awarded over $200 million in tuition assistance.
Oh, wow.
And my employees have actually received over $183,000 in tuition assistance.
Oh, wow.
Most of which has gone to our local New Mexico educational institutions. So I think it's been a win-win situation.
Right.
We celebrated our New Mexico's first career online high school graduate in 2018, Esperanza Rodriguez. She became pregnant as a high school student and had to quit school.
Oh.
A couple of years later, she came to work for me, and when she became eligible, she enrolled in the Career Online High School, and just 9 short months later, she was being celebrated as New Mexico's first Career Online High School graduate with her high school diploma and her career certification as a child care development specialist. That large celebration that involved, many educators, business influencers, helped us to leverage first-of-their-kind partnerships with the Rio Rancho Public School District, other nearby public school districts, shelter programs, and then we were able to work with the community colleges to streamline pipelines for my employees and actually McDonald's employees nationwide to further their education using the Archways to Opportunity tuition assistance.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. My opinion has always been, as an employer, it's my responsibility to help remove the barriers to help my employees achieve their educational and career dreams. I know that if I'm able to do that, I not only help them now, but I actually change their futures, their family legacies, and their communities by being able to offer these benefits and remove those barriers now.
All right. And then I believe you also mentioned something. There was a reading program you did with the school district, or a book program or something? Or am I misremembering that conversation?
Well, we've actually supported the New Mexico PTA, and McDonald's. This is not just my effort, but we've, participated with the New Mexico Public Education Department with a literacy campaign that seeks to get bilingual books in elementary schools all across New Mexico. Very exciting.
That's what I was remembering. I knew there was something with reading somewhere in there that we had discussed a couple weeks ago in another conversation. So that's great. I was always a big reader as a kid, so I think that's fantastic. But then, kind of going back to some of your community service work, you also do a lot of autism awareness campaigns, is my understanding. There, in fact, at one of your locations during the legislative session or just before, there was a letter writing campaign to the state legislators. And then you also mentioned a hero bag campaign that was recently at one of your locations. Can you talk about that a little bit and why that's so near and dear to you?
Sure. Before I transition to that, which is exciting, I also wanted to share with you that in addition to the literacy campaign, we actually have been recognizing teachers that were nominated at this year's New Mexico PTA conference. And I was actually honored to be able to recognize one of Rio Rancho's own teachers there.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Just recently. So it was really exciting to completely surprise her and give her some additional monies to use in her classroom for all the things that she's doing.
Oh, how fun and how neat.
Now, to get back to our autism work and why it's so near and dear to my heart. First of all, I have an adult son who is on the autism spectrum. And 25 years ago, he had an interaction, a traumatic interaction with law enforcement. He survived, but sadly, there's many interactions that don't end up positively. And in fact, he's still to this day, 25 years later, traumatized by the events of that night. Elevate the Spectrum is actually involved supporting individuals and families with autism in a bunch of different ways. The letter writing campaign, advocacy are among the many things they do. They do free activities that my son has been able to take advantage of. But I think one of their most impactful and important works that they're doing is the Elevate the Spectrum Hero Bags. These bags have tools in them in that they have communication boards, sunglasses, noise-canceling headphones, and fidget toys that help officers de-escalate situations involving individuals with autism. And the reason this is so important is because individuals with autism have more frequent interactions with first responders.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And often, because of the stress of the situation, the overstimulation, their behaviors, they become nonverbal. Their behaviors are actually misinterpreted by the officers as being noncompliant, as being aggressive. And officers unfortunately misinterpret their behaviors, and the outcomes are, to be honest, less than positive. Yeah. The news has been filled with many incidents recently where the outcomes weren't positive. These bags, to me, are the potential to save lives because they give these officers and first responders, school security officers, ambulance drivers, police, fire, the list of first responders is actually expanded for this purpose. It gives them the tools to de-escalate a situation, reduce the behaviors, and hopefully improve the outcomes.
Wow.
So that's why I not only believe in it, but since we got involved, Elevate the Spectrum has distributed over 2,100 hero bags to New Mexico first responders. We were able to have events in Rio Rancho, Albuquerque, and Espanola. The mayors of all of those cities joined our events, as well as our lieutenant governor joined one. Some of the events actually put together hero bags with community members, and others actually presented these bags and donation checks and brought together many community partners together to support this multi-year effort. So much so that they actually have a wait list.
Oh my goodness!
And are not able to meet the demand. And they've even had demand from outside of New Mexico.
Oh wow!
So definitely an important project.
Now, if somebody in the community wanted to get involved in that, or even the Thanksgiving dinner, or this next thing that you do for the community, how would they reach out?
Well, for the hero bags, I would definitely Google elevatethespectrum.org hero bags. That's probably not the exact URL, but you'll be able to find it. Or if you Google McDonald's hero bags, there's many. Media has been so kind in terms of multiple articles about these efforts and the importance in the lives of individuals with autism in our communities.
Okay. All right. And then, you also mentioned when we talked a couple weeks ago that you've also assisted first responders in another way in fundraising for K9 ballistic vests. How did that come about?
Well, it's actually like many of the projects I get involved in. Somebody reached out, on a Facebook happy birthday campaign and said, hey, can you, donate to help APD, Albuquerque Police Department K9s get protective vests? And I said, let's see if we can do better than that.
Yeah.
So we did, with the help of a lot of my my community neighbors in multiple locations, we embarked on a project to raise monies and not only provided protective vests for canines in Albuquerque, we also provided heat alarm systems, insurance, training supplies.
Wow.
And additionally, we were able to provide the monies we had raised actually provided the surgery for one of the canine officers that ultimately allowed it to get back on the force and back to duty.
Wow.
And through all those events, we were actually able to bring community family members together with the canine officers and their human officer partners with a lot of fun activities that were family friendly and a lot of fun, but also educational in terms of helping community members realize all the important things that our canine officers are doing in our communities, which is actually pretty amazing.
Wow. A one-woman force.
And actually, we not only served Albuquerque, but we served Rio Rancho, Albuquerque, Santa Fe, and Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office.
Wow.
With
amazing.
all of those supplies.
As a dog lover, I love that.
Well, you would have loved some of our events. We actually had some of the canine puppies that were in training and needed to be socialized. And how exciting it was a couple of years later, not under the circumstances in that my restaurant had received a bomb threat, but it was so exciting to see that one of the little puppies at our social events had actually become a Rio Rancho bomb-sniffing dog and was at my restaurant. So we had a unique reunion.
Wow. A little silver lining in the panic.
Oh, it was exciting. Well, and that officer is actually named after my son.
Oh, my goodness.
So it was especially special.
Wow. Wow. Your stories are just amazing. And then one of the things that you mentioned when we talked before was the idea of, it's not a business, it's a McFamily to you. And that includes employees and the guests. So can you delve into what that is to you?
Sure. Well, first of all, my father was the one who began, many years ago saying, I have 13 wives and husbands, referring to the general managers and supervisors. Well, I added on to that by saying, and now I have 576 children, regardless of their age, because my employees actually range from 15 to one that's almost 80.
Oh, my goodness.
Because of that, we have individuals that come together from all different ages, generations, cultures. In fact, I actually have several families that are multi-generational. I have 4 generations of one family working for me.
Oh, my goodness.
And that's really exciting. But as a result of all these people coming together and working together, sometimes probably seeing each other more than their own families, we become very protective of each other. And so you see a lot of the older, more senior generations becoming mentors and teachers, because let's be honest, sometimes as an employer, we actually have to teach life skills before we teach the McDonald's work employment soft skills, because families at home are very different, or in some cases non-existent, or even negative. So we become very protective. And I've often said my job for our organization is to work for every one of my employees to make sure that they have the tools and resources and support to be successful. Now, what support and what tools, employee A needs may be completely different than what employee B needs. But I have to work for each and every one of them to make sure that they can be successful, because at the end of the day, that's how the entire team can be successful. Yeah. And so that's why I think of them as part of my McFamily. With our customers, there's many guests that come in several times a day to interact with the employees, with myself, with their neighbors for coffee or lunch.
Right.
So much so that when one of them is missing, we really feel it. And begin asking questions. I've actually, quote unquote, threatened a few of our guests that if they don't let us know they're not coming, we're sending the cavalry after them because we know they're senior, have health problems, and are by themselves. So, like I said, over time, because I've had such a history with many generations of our community members, many generations of our employees. I try to give my number to as many of them as I can. So I've received phone calls at 2 a.m. in the morning from a 16-year-old that was thrown out by an alcoholic parent.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah, with no shoes, no clothes, and no place to stay. And we were able to use our community connections to keep them safe and help them get back to work the next day where they could be surrounded by their McFamily. So that's kind of how it evolved. And to this day, they all know whether they're younger or older than me, they're mine.
Yeah.
And we're all part of the same McFamily.
That sounds like an amazing environment to work in.
I love it. I work 7 days a week, actually in 1 to 3 restaurants a day. And it's funny because without fail, every time I go into a restaurant, how come you don't see us as much? And it was, if I could clone myself 8 different ways,
right?
I'm there.
Okay. And then, there's one other thing you kind of reached out to me this morning that you wanted to touch on was your DARE program that you had. So what does that entail?
So a couple of years back, another one of those innovative partnerships, we decided to put on a DARE summer camp. We brought together, first of its kind, brought DARE officers from multiple police departments to be able to deliver the DARE curriculum. And then we brought children from nearby community centers to come to the local restaurants, my restaurants, and get a free Happy Meal while they were also receiving the DARE curriculum.
Oh, my goodness.
And it was such a first of its kind program that the actual national DARE leadership came and joined us for the graduation to support this effort. And it was a lot of fun. The children got a chance to meet the officers over an entire once a week outing across the entire summer.
Oh, wow.
So it was fantastic. And of course we had canines at all the events.
Yeah.
So,
well, I know going back to when I was in DARE, it would have been nice to have some of those French fries while I was doing that.
Exactly, right? What better way to learn?
So anyway, that's kind of all I had on my list of questions. Is there anything else that you want to go over that we haven't touched on yet?
I think I do want to make one point, and that's, I was really I'm really honored to actually be here with you. And a couple of years back in 2019, I also received Albuquerque First's Woman of Influence Award. And McDonald's actually profiled me in their first global diversity, equity, and inclusion report. I was among only 3 operators worldwide recognized in this first report.
That's amazing.
During that time, I've never seen myself as a community leader. And what I've seen myself is as a helpful neighbor doing what I can when I can, with what I can. And so what I get really excited about is being able to bring these innovative partnerships of community members and community partners together to make amazing things happen. Because let's face it, my belief is that each and every one of us actually can do something to contribute to the causes that we care about, whether it's donating our time, our talents, even our treasurers. My own son, who's disabled, actually volunteers weekly. That being said, I think we're all community leaders when we choose a cause and decide to do something.
Right.
And by doing something, I think that collectively we can move mountains and improve our little corner of the world, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's really kind of what's been the heart of what's not only driving me, but I think, I hope that my efforts also serve to continue to inspire others to don't stand back. There's a lot of things we all want to improve on. Get involved.
Okay, great. And is there a way people can follow your organization on like social media or anything like that to find out what you're currently working on with some of these campaigns that give back to the community?
We'll often promote them either in the restaurants. We have a McDonald's Instagram page, and we're active on our Facebook pages.
Okay.
Some ahead of the events, after the events, like I said, the media has been really incredible. Like yourself, Rio Rancho, the Observer, has been incredibly kind in covering many of our educational and community events. So, and actually you'll find me in each of our 8 restaurants. So hopefully, if you see me, please say hi, and you never know what our next project might be.
Okay. Well, great stuff. And I know you felt like a little bit like you didn't belong here, but let me tell you, you were at the top of everybody's list when we started talking about this podcast series. You got to get Clemy on. You got to get Clemy on.
Wow.
So
you're incredibly kind. It hasn't been my effort alone. I have amazing employees that carry off each of these events. I have wonderful community partners that when I, say, hey, we've got this great idea, they say, I'm in. And most importantly, it's the community of all our neighbors and McFamily that come and support these events and make it possible for all of these things to happen.
Well, amazing stuff. Thank you so much for coming in and joining us and taking the time out of your day to do this with us.
Well, I want to know when we're going to interview you as a leading lady. Seriously, as Rio Rancho's own editor-in-chief, I'm in for that one. I hope to see it soon.
Oh.
But thank you so much for having me.
No, it's been fun. Finally getting to meet you after hearing your name so many times and having you on and talking with you. It's been a pleasure.
Oh,
and
thank you.
Yeah. And thank you everybody for watching and listening, and have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us for Leading Ladies of Rio Rancho from the Rio Rancho Observer. We hope you join us for future episodes. And if you or someone you know would like to be a guest, let us know by emailing editor@rrobserver.com. Again, I'm Tracy Goldeisen, editor of the Rio Rancho Observer. We appreciate you watching and listening. Have a great day.